Hello, I'm JaqQuicksilver. I'm a transmasculine adult creator, and I am here to answer your questions about bottom growth from testosterone. Please check out the other videos in this series if you're curious about this topic, but you are more than welcome to jump in on this one right now. Today I'm going to tackle some of the more subjective questions viewers submitted. Questions about the emotional aspects of bottom growth, and about the experiential changes that might come with it. Now, my answers are primarily based on two sources. One, my own life and experiences, and two, my observations of being chronically online. So when it comes to these individual subjective experiences, my answers may not apply to you or to other trans people at all. But I hope that by making this video, I can add my knowledge to a topic that deserves to be demystified, both for trans people early in their journeys and for curious cis people who, rightfully so, should not be asking these questions of the trans people in their lives. So let's go. All right, what does having an erection feel like? Man, it's so cool. It feels like sexual arousal. It feels like a pleasant warmth, as well as a tightness of the skin in that area, which I think is caused by increased blood flow to the tissue. It feels like I'm aware of my body there, like of the position of it, the outline of my skin, of the pressure from clothes if I'm wearing them. And there's a psychological component of it too, where you're excited just to realize it's happening, which makes you more excited, which can lead to you getting carried away. So yeah, it feels good, it feels natural, it feels right to me, and it's very pleasurable. Can you describe how the orgasm feels before T and after? Dude, my subjective orgasm experience both changed a fair amount, but in other ways not really. So like, I've always been kind of like the classic male pattern orgasm where I could go once and then I have a long refractory period. Like, I've always been that way with the occasional second, but I am not multi-orgasmic, and that didn't change. Similarly, the start and overall feeling of my orgasm is the same. I feel it as a warmth that begins my toes and then rushes over my body in a crashing wave that reverberates in my pelvic area. So before T, however, my orgasm would be more vaginal focused. Like it would come from clitoral stimulation, but I would feel a lot of sensation in the vagina, those contractions and reverberations. And my clit would almost be too sensitive to touch, like immediately. Since being on T, I now feel what, wildly enough, feels like what I think coming with a dick feels like. Like there are pelvic contractions and the ligaments and muscles around the clit spasm in the same temporal, timed pattern that I've seen cis men's penises ejaculate in, which is wild. It feels like my body is trying to ejaculate with a dick. It feels really good. I actually took a 3-month tea break earlier this year, and one of the parts that I really didn't like during that break was this orgasmic change started to reverse. So the feeling of coming with a penis has something to do with the tea in my body causing that change in experience. Other than that, my orgasmic experience is the same in terms of frequency, length, and satisfaction. If anything, I tend to have longer orgasms now, though that is most likely caused by other factors like self-knowledge and skill. Does more growth equal more sensitivity? If so, is it pleasurable sensitivity, or can it also be painful? In my experience, there is no correlation with growth and sensitivity. By that I mean people with small T-dicks seem just as sensitive as people with huge T-dicks. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see any reason for it to be otherwise. Now, a lot of people do experience some painful oversensitivity during the active growth phases, which makes logical sense. An organ jam-packed with nerves is growing to expose more surface area to the world of cotton underwear, jeans, and bicycle seats. It seems pretty universal, though, that the mind and body adapt and return to a normal sensitivity level over time. Another factor that might give the illusion of increased sensitivity is the occurrence of novel sensations. Let's say that, like me, you had a relatively small clitoris before starting HRT. Now you're on T, you've experienced bottom growth, you're getting head, and suddenly you can feel your partner's lips around you. You've never felt that before. It is reasonable that this would both blow your mind and contribute to an enhanced mental awareness of those new sensations. Is the clitoris actually more sensitive? I think to answer that in any objective way, we would need a hefty research grant and medical expertise I frankly do not have. But until that day, I would advise you to just enjoy what happens and not stress about sexual sensitivity, as it seems to not be affected negatively in any significant way by bottom growth. This person asked, does it change the way you want to touch yourself? Does it feel better to receive oral? So I touched on this a bit previously, but yes. Again, some things are physically the same for me. I enjoy stimulation more on my right side. I like to use a strong vibrator. But I now have a lot more hand and finger motions in my repertoire to tease and treat myself with, both because of the changed anatomy and because of my changed relationship to my body. This is actually really important to the question about oral. Before T, oral was a very reliable way for a partner to make me orgasm. However, something odd would happen. At times, I would feel an unexplained, powerful, sudden sense of disgust when receiving oral sex. I would have to stop, even if I wanted to finish. I couldn't find a good explanation of why I would feel that way. I was turned on, I loved my partner, I was having a good time, so why did I feel disgust? It was actually only until starting T and experiencing bottom growth that I realized it was genital dysphoria. I had had no framework at the time to describe it as such. I thought sometimes you just get the ick during sex you like for no reason. But that feeling of revulsion has completely disappeared now. I have not experienced it ever since transitioning. So yeah, it does make it better to receive oral, but not for strictly anatomical reasons, but because of how my relationship with my body changed due to transition. Cool shit. Is there any difference in how sex feels from before bottom growth? Like physically, are things more sensitive, things rub differently, etc.? Great question. For me personally, nothing has changed with regard to vaginal penetration. The general ability to orgasm from penetrative sex is linked to the proximity of the clit to the vaginal opening, so the anatomy you're born with. And for me, bottom growth hasn't changed that at all. I suspect actually that this question is heavily individual anatomy dependent and will vary drastically between individuals, just like how ability to orgasm from penetration varies drastically between cisgender women. That being said, for me personally, so much has changed for anal penetration. To understand why, we need a quick examination of some relevant anatomy. The button we all know and love is only the tip of the iceberg of the clitoris. Check out this diagram. The clitoral crura and the vestibular bulbs are erectile tissue which wrap around the urinary tract and the vaginal canal. During arousal, these tissues engorge with blood and increase pleasurable sensitivity in the pelvic region. Most anatomical drawings show the vestibular bulbs reaching just around the vaginal canal. But remember, these are just idealized cartoons for educational purposes. there's actually a huge variability in genital anatomy. Staggeringly huge. So to me, it seems possible that some people's vestibular bulbs may even come in contact with the anterior, that means front, wall of the rectum, which would explain why a significant number of people assigned female at birth report having orgasms from anal stimulation, while some people never have that experience. Now, add on to that some overall clitoral growth from testosterone, including on the internal structures like the crura and bulbs, plus increased erectile activity, you've got a super clit that is turbocharging for penetrative pleasure. Anal stimulation is mind-blowing for me post-transition. I suppose I have been blessed with an optimally placed internal clitoris, and I love it. So, that's something that can happen and is totally worth exploring, in my opinion. It just goes to show that transition is such an individual process and so many things can happen that we are not expecting. So it's good to be informed by watching videos like this and learning from other trans and queer people in your life, and also a little bit expect the unexpected. You're entering a new phase of life. You're going to discover things about yourself. It's wonderful. Embrace it. All right, folks, thanks for watching today's episode of All About Bottom Growth. If you found this video helpful or interesting, please hit the like button, send it to a friend, and of course, subscribe to catch future episodes. Oh, and feel free to drop more questions in the comments. By the way, you may have noticed I'm filming in a rather dark office now. It is officially the dark half of the year, which here in the north of the Netherlands is pretty dark pretty early. If you go to my throne wishlist, which is in the description, I have a very modestly priced lamp on there that I would really love to help brighten up my office, because it only has 2 tiny lights on the ceiling for some reason. Anyway, that's my pitch. I hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching.